jump in my truck in the morning. The first thing are COVID, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, fuck, I hate this episode.
I've heard this one.
You're listening to the Draft in Hand podcast with your hosts, Greg, Ian, and Mark.
It's funny watching baseball. There's an art to out and safe calls. And as an umpire yourself, Mark.
There's also an art to calling a good strike zone, too.
Calling it strike zone, yeah. But, like, I mean, like, the actual action of punching guys out.
Or, like making the one count.
You can't say strike. Name a good umpire that says strike.
Can you name a good umpire? Just name an umpire.
Hilarious. Yes. That is the point. But, like, yeah, first of all, like, I don't, people that don't play baseball or don't know baseball well don't really know this, but so if it's a fair ball, you don't say anything. You say foul if it's foul.
Silent. You only point if it's a fair ball.
Point to the fair
the
territory
of inside the baseline.
Yes.
On a foul ball, you only yell foul because foul and fair sound the same, so it's easier just to yell foul to stop the game.
If you are a base runner, you run until you hear foul.
Yeah.
Or time or whatever.
Or
something.
just a blah!
Yell, like, if it's a loud noise, that's the umpire calling some foul something.
It's trying to stop the game.
Yeah. But usually foul's like the only word they use. Sometimes umpires will yell like something like kind of strike, but they'll kind of go like, yeah! But that's what I mean. Like, there's an art to calling strikes, and if it's a ball, you don't say anything.
Sometimes as an ump, when I was umping games and I was behind the plate, it was like doing the good games.
Yeah.
And like,
what do you mean good games? Just
like higher level, like AAA level games and stuff like that. It was like a legit pitcher's game, and like the pitcher's been hitting the spot.
Yeah. And
it'll be like a little outside the spot, and I'm just like, nope.
Yeah. You sort of shake your head. You'll sometimes on the broadcast, just hear me say ball, but it's just they'll say it in such like a low tone that it's like it can't be anything else. So it's a strike. Yeah. Or something. Sometimes, and then if it's strike two, it'll be two.
Or you were just saying, like, the guy's making the out at first on, like, the double plays, and they do, like, the
giant fist pump? Yeah, I'm like, don't throw your shoulder out.
It's like you're about to go to a game of Mortal Kombat. Or it's their Smash Bros. Taunt.
It's their special maneuver. They're down on the D-pad. Is that what it was? To the taunt on the GameCube? And yeah, but it's like
Captain Falcon would be a good one. Show your moves.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Or the Falcon punch.
Yeah,
Falcon punch somebody out.
Oh, imagine Falcon punching a guy out at home plate.
Yeah, and the guys at like some of the guys on the out calls, like for base stealing, like first base they're pretty busy. There's some close calls, but like second base and third base, if you're out at those bases, it's a little bit more dramatic. So yeah, you might not have as many calls that game. You might not have any like at all. But, like, yeah, a double play, which it's like an obvious one.
Get a little excited.
Somebody gets thrown out, stealing second. You got to step into that one.
Oh, but man, like some calls you got to do at home plate, like in close games, you just get so excited. You're as excited as like the parents and like, well, when I was doing it, the parents are watching. It wasn't fans.
Right.
But like you got so excited to like just make the out call.
But you say some of the best ones are the safe ones.
Oh, here you go!
And you're doing the bird, like waving arms.
Oh, yeah. Or you're just like, no, he dropped the ball.
Yeah. You just get so into it.
You're just waving your arms like, it's right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And honestly, the more, like, out there you were, like, trying to, like, show that they were safe, less arguments you got, instead of just going safe.
Yeah. If you just put your arms out, like, flash your arms out, do a safe call, and it's a close play, there's a higher chance of having an argument. But if you are emphatic, no one's arguing, and then right away saying, save, drop the ball, like at home plate.
Yeah,
the catcher dropped the ball or fumbled it.
The bag.
Yeah, and do like the two arm like to the side swishing movement like off the bag. Like no, you're not getting an argument. You might have someone that might be like, "Are you sure about that? Can you ask your partner?" But very rarely will anyone challenge you if you're.
Well, you can't challenge an safe call on the basis. You can't challenge a forced play.
No, but yeah,
like you can't challenge between an umpire can't change the call. It can only be overturned by challenge.
Yeah,
like an umpire can't overturn another umpire's out and safe call. It has to be overturned by a challenge that they have now in baseball. Like before, they had the challenge, an umpire
or the challenge flag,
over
really.
Another umpire's call.
Right.
Unless it was what is it called? not a like obstructional or whatever like that. Like an out and safe and a strike in it or in a strike in a ball are like 100% calls where you couldn't change it no matter what until replay came in.
Yeah. You can't ask about those. No, you can't challenge. You can't challenge or question ball and strikes, but you can ask for help. Let's say on a review on like on an out at the bases.
Now you can. Before you couldn't. Before you just had to deal with what the umpire's call was.
Right. It's the arts of baseball that I feel like a lot of people know, but a lot of people don't appreciate.
So what game was it against Tampa? The Jays had the bases loaded with, I think, 2 outs. And Valera was up. And there's a thing on Twitter that posts an umpire like scorecard. I forget what it's called, but it gives like a percentage of how well the umpire did.
Okay.
But the worst...
is this in the 9th inning?
Yeah. The worst 3 calls this umpire made was like 3 pitches in a row in the 9th inning. One was to Bichette. Or it was Bichette in the 8th. And then the 2 worst calls were in that at-bat to Valera, where they were both balls on it was 3-0 and then 3-1. So it became a 3-2 count.
So both of them would have been to walk a run in
to make it a 1-run game with Springer coming up.
And what was the result of that at-bat?
He got out and the game ended. This was with 2 outs.
Wow. I saw the highlights of the game. I didn't see the end of it, but I know exactly the game you're talking about. And I think people listening know the game talking about too. It's the Tampa game that
they're pulling their hairs out as much as I would.
Yes. Yeah. Well, especially and you don't like that little box being on the screen.
I hate the box being there, but Ian even knew it was a ball.
The strike box is what
Ian
we mean.
Knew it was a ball. When Ian knows it's a ball, it's a fucking ball.
Ian knows more about baseball now than
learning.
You give. I think he knows a lot. He knows probably more than twice as much now as he did at the start of
2 years ago. Maybe
let's say the
pandemic,
the global incident.
Yeah,
when somebody spilled something. Okay, let's do the introduction thing because we're talking a lot. This is a Draft Hand podcast. I'm Greg. That's Mark.
And Ian's not here.
Notably absent.
Yeah, he just hasn't been silent because we've been talking about baseball.
Although that would be characteristic. It wouldn't be uncharacteristic.
Day to day with the native flu.
Day to day with he stepped on Lego. Again! Clean up your Lego, Ian. Fuck.
I'd buy Lego for myself, but it's so expensive nowadays.
Legit, I had considered if I had been if I had a steady income coming in, I considered it because genuinely, I was a Lego kid growing up. I still have Lego stuff put together.
Shit in your room, I remember
some of it.
You had your Star Wars spaceship and some of the other things.
Technically, it's not Star Wars because it's not branded the Star Wars. They came out with Lego Star Wars after, but it's space Lego sets. Yeah.
To resemble.
Sort of. Yeah. Unintentionally, intentionally.
Yeah.
But what it does to your mind, like
it makes you so imaginative. I remember with the Lego I had, I'd design houses with it. Like I'd build houses with all the little pieces.
That's the blocks. That's exactly how. Is that how you became a construction worker guy?
No, I was just bad at school.
Oh yeah, okay. No, but I genuinely feel like I encounter situations where I'm like, I remember being able to like picture this object in 3D and rotate it when I was in like grade 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Because I'd build stuff with Lego.
It's funny how much easier I found doing it with Lego than it is like when they showed it on a piece of paper. I'm like, I can't do it on a piece of paper. If you give me like Lego and stuff, I could show you what it should look like.
Yeah. Yeah. Lego's always been expensive though, I think. I feel like it's just gotten way more. I haven't been to a toy store in ages. I just
had to pay for it because they always got it as gifts.
Santa brought it for us.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so when Santa brings the Lego, Santa in quotation marks, but
I look at it now when you buy it for like gifts for friends and family and shit, I'm like, damn, Daniel.
Yeah, I don't think people.
Expensive.
I don't think people appreciate Lego. Like, I wonder how many people appreciate Lego now the way that we. I mean, I did. Like, Lego was like, I didn't have video games growing up. I had Lego and like Transformer,
like those
toys,
when you
action
were younger,
figures.
You had those big Duplo blocks.
My brother had Duplo blocks. You couldn't interchange them, but you could do things together with them, sort of.
It was more just to make squares.
Yeah, just, stuff like that. My dad had a couple, like, train sets that actually like moved around. They had tracks.
Tank Engine sets.
For Lego?
No, when I was a kid, they were like, it was all made out of wood. Like,
oh, Brio.
No, Thomas the Tank Engine.
Oh.
It was all like branded by Thomas the Tank Engine.
Oh.
But, like, found out like years down the road, most of it was like made with lead paint from China.
Oh, sick.
So we still have it.
Oh, that might explain the school thing. Maybe.
But yeah, it was small like pieces of wood, and you made like a train. Like,
I'm pretty sure that's Brio.
No, but this was actually like all Thomas the Tank
No.
Engine brand.
I had the same thing. We had Thomas the Tank Engine, and they fit on a Brio. Brio also fucking expensive.
Yeah.
Because it was all it had to made to fit together.
Yeah, it was like putting a puzzle together, but it was just train tracks, and you made your own fucking thing, and you had like complete like bends and stuff like that, straights, like the
Mark, I know,
splits.
had the exact same thing. Yeah,
I'm just letting the people know.
There you go. No, but that's Brio, and then the
okay, was Brio the brand?
Brio was the brand, and then they had like a co-brand.
That's where you lose.
Yeah, and then Thomas the Tank Engine had like they like co-branded some like engines and stuff that were Thomas the Tank Engine that fit on the Brio layout.
But it was all made out of wood and shit like that. Yeah, it was sick.
Yeah, dope. I don't think you see that stuff around. I don't know. No. I mean, I've never been in a toy store in ages.
Like,
but
man, there's sometimes where like I still kind of wish we had it because I like would still totally just fucking.
We made layouts like that all the time in my like living room and stuff like that, and my nan would come and like trip over some of the bridges because they were elevated,
and you'd be like, what the hell?
And then she'd get mad at us because we just have like a layout in the middle of our living room, but like there's no point in really being in there unless you're doing the thing.
They gave you the cones, put pylons around it, man.
Yeah Hindsight.
Yeah, it's 2020 now. 2020 right now.
I want that's actually funny though. I wonder how many people in the future, like kids, because like you hear a saying and it's like hindsight's 2020. They're like, oh, what happened in 2020?
Oh, it's literally 2020.
Yeah, hindsight's 2020. What does that mean?
Yeah, but hindsight of 2020, like 2020 is like probably one of the worst years of like
I know
everybody's life.
But I wonder if like a kid in 5 years from now,
to be 2020.
No,
ever. Can we hindsight be 2030 now?
I don't know if 2030 is going to be any better now at this point.
2050?
Hindsight. They got to change the vision
hindsight
thing.
3030.
Hindsight 3030. What year was The Matrix? What year did that take place?
I don't know.
Can you Google it real quick? Like what? I don't think they know. I don't think like the part of the story is they don't know what year it is. They just know that it's in the future and that it was the humans that blacked out the sky. I just remember that bit from The Matrix. I think it's on Netflix. I need to watch it again.
They're coming out with a fourth one too.
They are coming out with a fourth one. Have you? I've seen a trailer.
$21.99.
21. Okay, well, hindsight is not 21. What do you say? 21.90.
$21.99.
$21.99.
Let's call it 3030. Let's just go up another friggin'.
That's like hindsight is 22, like 200 and 2200 or something. That would be The Matrix.
All right, then let's call it 2040.
Oh my gosh.
I hope we live that long.
Oh yeah, hopefully. Oh God.
Yeah, you can't say hindsight's 2020 anymore.
No. But I'm just saying, what I'm saying is like, how funny would it be if kids are confused at what the saying means? Because a lot of people.
I'm sure they are. They're going to be like, what the fuck, 2020 sucked.
Yeah.
Well, if they know what hindsight
If
means.
they know what hindsight is, and if they I'm pretty sure people will. Okay, here's a question, actually. I don't want to go dark, but.
Like, turn off the lights?
No.
Oh.
We could still podcast if the power went out, though, because of the power bank. But, like, okay, I don't want to go dark, but, like, speaking of the 2020, like, what is, like, a kind of a more significant thing when we look back in history? Will 9/11 be, like, the more significant, or would the COVID be a more significant? Because they both changed the world.
I don't know. I just like knowing when I go to the grocery store, people aren't breathing on the produce.
Do you wash your produce more now than before?
Dude, I fucking grabbed the gas pump with like toilet, like with a glove and paper towel.
Paper towel, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot more things that I find disgusting that I didn't think were disgusting back then.
Back like
a year and a half ago. You can't even call it back then.
back, but it is back then almost now. Like the world literally has changed.
Day, we had to wear a mask up and down the road.
No, Mark. It'll be like back in my day, we didn't have to wear a mask because there's a part of me that thinks that I think what mask wearing. Okay, the reason I ask you this is because to get on a plane now, you can't take toothpaste and all this bullshit, and it's after 9/11. They so much changed security-wise after 9/11, and then after COVID, are we now going to have to wear masks, like literally
every time we enter,
going on the subway or something? You know what I mean?
I wouldn't mind. Like Asians have adapted a system like that already. Well, it's just in their culture where they wear a mask whenever they feel like shit.
Whenever they're sick, yeah.
Yeah. So, like, I feel like, why can't we adapt that in North America? Like, if you have a cold, just wear a fucking mask now.
There's a 3-letter word that is the reason. It's just ego.
Yeah.
It's ego to understand what the other culture is. It's ego to just to admit to yourself that you are not feeling well and that you should just stay home. But it's North American culture to work your tail off.
Sometimes you have to go to the grocery store and
pick yourself up some cold remedy.
Yeah.
Some Vapo Rub.
Yeah, maybe you don't have somebody in your life to do that for you, and they go out and you have to, maybe it should be mandated if you feel ill, you should wear a face covering.
Mm-hmm.
Not just because...
But then it's self-policing, and then that comes back to ego again.
Well, but as long as it's mandated, like, I wouldn't be against it, to be honest.
I didn't want to go dark and go that route, but
no, I'm sure a lot of people have had that talk.
Yeah. Should we talk about sports?
No, that has to be dark. It's just where society heads after every catastrophic incident.
Occurrence. Yeah. News event.
It's not even a news event. It's been in the fucking news it's literally become fucking a TV show. Like every time, like, I get in the car and I jump in my truck in the morning, the first thing are COVID, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, fuck, I hate this episode.
I've heard this one.
I've already literally.
I've heard this already.
I was like, when the fuck is this episode going to turn off and change to something else?
This is a horrible series.
Yeah. I fucking hate it. I just want to get back to, like, normal, where it's like, the Maple Leafs lost again in the first round of the playoffs.
Okay. That's a good segue.
Red Sox up 1-0 right now. That's good for the Blue Jays after winning today.
So I tweeted out from our account. I'm like, this is horrible. But it's so fitting. I'm like, so we're recording this on September 26th, Sunday night. You're going to hear this at some point this week, hopefully. Thanks for listening, by the way. So I tweeted out, this is so bad, but I'm like, Lando Norris would be an excellent member of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Oh, God.
But let's talk about the F1 first. We'll start there. Because, so, in Sochi this week, in Russia, earlier this morning, Lando Norris, hold on, I'm sorry. Mark's boy Lando, pole position. Was that his first time in his career? I think it was.
Yo, it looked like it was friggin' like 2003 on that friggin' starting grid.
Why 2003?
That's like the last time those three teams were on the podium together.
On the starting row?
Yeah.
On the thing. Like McLaren, Ferrari. Yeah.
Starting
grid. Yeah. Okay.
I think 2003. Don't quote me.
Something like that.
I read it on Twitter somewhere.
Right. It
was like flashback to like 20 years ago.
When McLaren and Ferrari were front row. Right. So, yeah, Lando, pole, his former teammate, Carlos Sainz, now with Ferrari, second, and then right behind him was Hamilton, of course.
Hamilton started fourth.
But right behind Sainz.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's what I meant. Starting at the back of the grid, because he switched his engine and sort of took that penalty for the incident last race with Hamilton. Verstappen started at the very back. New engine, so that's sort of the rule. If you get a new engine, got to start at the back of the grid.
NASCAR, stock car, if you do any tweaking, you have to start from the back of the pack.
Yeah. Ended up Verstappen worked all his way up back to second, which is amazing. Anyway, but the whole drama was Lando Norris led not the whole race, but a whole chunk of it until like the last 5 laps. Hamilton was right on his tail, and then the only thing that nobody could control
was the weather.
The weather rolled in for part of the track, and half the track, I don't even know if it was half the track, was wet. The other half was dry. And the whole teams just started flooding in to get their wet tires. And both
it became a fucking shit show.
And Norris said no. And so did for the one lap Hamilton. They both said no.
Hamilton ignored the Mercedes.
Yeah. And then I guess at some point you didn't hear the team radio, because sometimes of the broadcast they'll give you the team radio, but I guess they didn't record
be a good episode.
The team radio. Oh, this will be. I have something for that too, by the way, for the Drive to Survive. But I guess we did. They didn't pick up that. At some point, they told Hamilton, like, no, it's going to get really wet. Come in for intermediates with literally four laps left. So basically, they're saying with 4 laps to go, putting on the wet weather tires, coming in for the. How long does the pit stop take? It's like the 25 seconds ish. Let's say 25 seconds.
In and out, like
in and out. Yeah.
You're 3 seconds. Like you're driving more than you are in your pit.
Exactly. So you're going to add 25 seconds to your time. Enter the pit lane. That's the tire sounds, up and down, and then out. About 25 seconds.
Yeah.
Over the next 4, the gamble was over 4 laps, are you going to be able to make up? Because Hamilton was behind Norris by literally a second, or less at one point, because it was getting wet. And both drivers, British, Hamilton and Norris, both British, so they both are used to racing in a little bit of dampness.
Driving their Mini Coopers around downtown London,
as one does, of course. Austin Powers, yeah. Oh my gosh, that's fucking hilarious. Okay, so so Hamilton goes in, puts on his intermediates. Lando stays out, and it's like, okay, Lando Norris needs 3 laps. All he needs to do is like. Basically, or like it might have been 4 laps. Complete 4 laps and not have Hamilton catch him, and Hamilton was back 20 seconds. But it was the one part of the track was just getting so wet, and I'm sure everybody watching, like unless you're a diehard Lewis Hamilton fan, and there was very good reason to be in this race, we'll get to that, but everyone was hoping that Norris would hold on and get his first race win of his career. And he just couldn't hang on. It was just with those tires. I'd assume it's like riding a bike in the rain. Like you just can't steer. Or have you ever tried? Like they literally said, this could turn into Bambi on ice real quick, and it did. Like he could like just tiptoeing around the track, and you just saw the time. It's like, oh, Hamilton just chewed off 10 seconds. There's 3 laps to go. That 20-second gap just got cut in half. And then that turn where Norris just went straight off and did a pretty good job not hitting the barrier.
He had to pass a couple of guys before he got to Norris too.
He had to pass not pass guys, but I think they were lap traffic.
Yeah, it's still.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. You know what? That's the thing too. Norris was having trouble passing they call them back markers, but the lap traffic, because the lap traffic was on intermediates. Mazepin and Schumacher, like the Haas drivers at the back that we don't talk about because they're irrelevant, to be honest. Yeah.
Unless Mazepin does something stupid.
Well, of course. Like when
every other week. We'll probably talk about him next week. We'll do something stupid next week.
Yeah, of course. But man, and then Hamilton goes on to win his
100th most of the time.
Well, by a long shot now, but he's a Centurion. 100th Grand Prix win. So congratulations to Lewis Hamilton for winning 100 Grand Prix.
Which one is it?
I don't know. You can press the... Uh-oh. Okay, don't press any more buttons.
Did you disable all of them?
I don't know. I don't even know.
What a dick.
Oh, maybe the volume's not on. It's fine. Leave it.
The volume's probably turned off.
Mark tried to do the volume stuff.
I tried to do that.
The applause. We'll just do a golf clap. Appropriate. This is a high quality podcast.
I think it's flowing pretty good.
It's going pretty good so far. So Hamilton, 100th Grand Prix win. Verstappen goes 20th to second place, which is impressive. Carlos Sainz, who started on the front row. Look, he pitted early on tires, tried to get a different strategy. Turns out it worked. Then landed him on the podium, which I guess he's pretty happy with. Lando Norris finishes 8th.
So I get like how Norris won driver of the day.
Yeah.
How did Max get that?
How didn't?
Yeah. Dead last to finish second.
Genuinely, Mark, I think if it was any other circumstance, he would have.
Yeah.
I just think everyone felt so bad for Norris.
Yeah.
That's literally the only reason.
Fair, but fuck.
Like if everybody hated Lando Norris, they would have been like, ha, good driver of the day to Verstappen.
If it was Mazepin.
easily. Yeah, basically, yeah. Even for a while there, George Russell was up there. He qualified pretty well. He started third. That's who started third.
Yeah.
So Hamilton started beside his future teammate, George Russell.
George.
So yeah, Lando Norris was leading until the 51st lap of 53. But remember, 51, 52, 53, that's 3 laps. Oh, poor guy. That episode of Drive to Survive will be good. You know what other episode will be really good?
The one where Verstappen took out Hamilton? The one where Hamilton
that was
drove
last
off
race.
The course?
Hold on, that was last race, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The other one where Hamilton drove off the course?
So
there's going to be a lot of good episodes.
So I can't remember what the podcast is called. I was watching it on YouTube, but they were interviewing Danny Ricciardo, and he said that, you know, usually one race a season, Netflix will follow a team. They'll do an ISO, like they'll isolate one team and they'll really dive into it. And last race, when Ricciardo and Norris went 1-2 in Italy, Monza, 2 weeks ago, that was the race that Netflix was zooming in on McLaren.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Wild. Like their first 1-2 in a decade or something like that. Their first race win in ages. Daniel Ricciardo, who is a crowd favorite because of that show, partially because of that show, gained in popularity because of his personality. And Mark's boy Lando. That team was singled out and followed more closely, embedded by Netflix.
23 years old, man.
Fucking wild. And he wears his helmet is his quadrant, the helmet he wears, that's his brand, like that's his like gaming brand thing.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool too. I don't know if anybody's checked out Quadrant.
He's self-advertising himself.
Literally, yeah, that's cool. I don't know any other driver that does that because they got like a CrowdStrike on one of their, like, who has CrowdStrike? Somebody has CrowdStrike on their helmet.
I don't pay.
Which is cybersecurity.
Yeah.
Good stock to purchase if you're a Motley Fool person. Motley Fool's recommended CrowdStrike. That stock's done really well. We're not a financial thing, but it's kind of cool. It's cybersecurity that like literally strikes back. If you like attack a CrowdStrike computer, it will literally attack you back, and everybody in their network will be automatically basically resistant to your attack. It's kind of cool. Cybersecurity. As opposed to Lando Norris's Quadrant, which is his own brand. So he's got there's like a handful of them and they game and stuff like that. And sometimes Lando's on it and it's like a channel. So basically he self-promotes via his helmet, which is kind of neat.
Yeah, that's dope though. I like that.
Kind of dope. And then people like...
Lando's still a kid too.
Well, there's a few of them that are kid. There's a few of them that did really well. Like Leclerc was doing okay there for a bit. Russell was up there for a bit. People forget how young Verstappen is. We were talking about that last time with how like sort of his immaturity and how his boldness, but he's going to be like, the only reason he's not unbeatable right now is because Hamilton is there.
No, the only
keeping him in
reason
check.
He's not unbeatable is because he doesn't drive a Mercedes. He would beat Hamilton in a Mercedes.
100% agree. I think, but he still beats Hamilton on a regular basis in a Red Bull.
I know.
But he'd be indestructible
in a Mercedes.
In a Mercedes. Yeah. It's almost like, I don't think Formula One can let that happen. For literally the sake of the race, for the sake of the sport, you can't have... Like, imagine MLB just let the Yankees sign everybody the way NBA teams sign everybody.
Oh, yeah.
That's basically what I'm saying. So imagine all of the NBA players got together on one super team and became the All-Star Monstars, like from Space Jam. That would be like Mercedes and Verstappen.
Hamilton and Verstappen.
Yeah, it wouldn't be fair.
It'd be I don't think either driver would want that, though.
You would have to count the number of podium finishes that anybody else gets. It's like third place becomes the new first place.
Yes.
Like, you might as well not even have like a podium celebration. You just literally like celebrate third, fourth, and fifth.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. You celebrate third, fourth, and fifth.
Yeah, you came fifth. Woo! And Mercedes, Verstappen, and Hamilton, they came 1-2 again. Congratulations.
Just cue the anthem.
Yeah, and everybody just leaves. It's just like, how many times do we need to hear? I mean, you've already heard "God Save the Queen" 100 times because Hamilton's been there, which is incredible. But there you go. Okay, are we done enough for the
yeah, this
Formula
One talk.
Formula Ian wouldn't have contributed to this conversation anyway.
Maybe.
Maybe. I don't know. Do you want to do baseball or hockey?
I don't give a shit.
Oh, okay.
Flip a coin.
Do you want to do Jays stuff?
Yeah, we could talk the Jays.
So the Jays, they just split their series with Minnesota.
Yeah.
4-game series. Their last 4-game series of the season.
Our boys Manoah and Robbie Ray had good starts to close them off for the wins.
6 games left?
Yeah, 3 with the Yankees, 3 with the Orioles. I'm going to the game on Thursday this week.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday season's done. So this time next week.
Yeah,
we know.
I'm either going to be drunk because the Jays are in the playoffs, or I'm going to be drunk because they're not in the playoffs.
Stay tuned for next episode of Draft Hand Podcast.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one or a really good one.
Well lubricated episode.
Oh, it's going to be very lubricated. Holy shit, that Sunday game, man.
Is it an afternoon game?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
All the games are at 3:00.
Oh, so you'll know. They'll know. When's the wildcard game scheduled to be? Do we know? Is it Monday or Tuesday?
I think it's the day after.
That you have to end early because teams need to know where to go.
Crazy in the AL East, like, well, okay, I'm not even gonna call it the wild card. I'm gonna call it in the AL East.
It's AL East if Verstappen and Hamilton were for Mercedes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not even a wild card race. It's just the AL East is just battling for second, third.
It's an AL East race feature, and Seattle thinks they're cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I'm not going to count Seattle out of it, because if Seattle, like, just somehow, like, I would love to see Toronto and Seattle get in together, because, like, Seattle is literally, like, Toronto West in the MLB. And
Kinda.
it'd be so sick to see that as a wild card game.
That'd be kind of cool. Yeah. Okay, you were saying something about the wild card.
But yeah,
the East.
The AL East is just literally just dicking themselves across, like, the rest of the
especially
AL.
Yeah.
But the game on right now, what is it? Oh, it's 1-1 in the Boston Yankees game. So the Jays are going to be down.
Is this the first game of a series?
No, this is their last game.
Oh, this is last game.
Yeah. So all 3 teams have a day off tomorrow.
Okay.
So the Jays going into tomorrow, Monday, September 27th, will be 1 game behind either New York or Boston based on this Sunday night.
And the other team, there'll be 2.
There'll be 2 games back.
2 back. Who would you rather be? If when you're listening to this, you're going to know what the standings are. You'll be able to flip up your phone, or if you're old school, a newspaper. Wild, crazy, I know. Who would you rather be 1 game back of?
Yankees.
The
you
Yankees?
play them 3 times.
I saw that question on Twitter, and I'm just like, it's an interesting question, but at the same time, like, it's an obvious one, because if you're 1 game back of the Yankees, you now control your own destiny, because you have a series against the Yankees.
Yes.
And it's sort of what we said.
If you're 2 back, you have to sweep them.
If it's 2 back, you have to sweep them. If you, but it's in your hands if you're the Blue Jays. You didn't do yourself a favor by tying Minnesota. You should have gone 3-1, and then you would have been tied with the Yankees. In which case, I think
it would have been a half game back of the Yankees.
Sure, but like you mentioned last time, it would have been a huge benefit if the Jays were able to use the Baltimore series, and they still might be able to use the Baltimore series to set up their ideal pitcher for the wild card game. But it would not be good.
Took the lead.
It would not be good if the Jays have to throw their best 3 pitchers on short rest against Baltimore, because they have to.
They won't have to
get in.
It's Baltimore.
Well, but you also cannot lose.
I know,
you
can't lose those games.
Ultimately though, legit, there's a scenario where the Baltimore series,
if Jays win the next 6 games, they're in.
Hands down.
That's it.
Done. If they sweep the Yankees, they give themselves a bit of breathing room, so they don't have to panic.
They give themselves 1 game.
1 game.
And at least when you're tied, you play a tie-break game.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I like about MLB, where it doesn't come down to differential and shit like that.
Yeah,
if you're tied, you play a sudden death game.
Gladiator style.
Yeah. That's probably one of my favorite things about baseball, because
it's just your win-loss record. That's it.
For me, like I told you, I think we said this last episode, I don't care if we end in a tie and we have to play the Red Sox and Yankees to get to the Rays, because I think the Jays make Fenway and Yankee Stadium Little League ballparks.
They have the ability to, yeah. Even their own ballpark.
They're not going to get to play at Rogers Center till game 3 of the division series.
And the division series, right? Yeah, they rake. They make them look small. As long as their bats are going.
That's why I don't mind if we end tied as like the bottom team.
Right. I understand. I got you. But legit, I know the Jays have been playing like it's playoff baseball for a while now, but I think I mean, it kind of goes without saying, and I trust, like, you trust the management, but you know the Jays know that, okay, the next 2 series is, for all intents and purposes, this is playoff baseball now.
So what's got me hyped going into this Yankee series was Springer's catch yesterday.
Describe it in detail.
It was honestly, in the circumstance of the game, it was a make or break catch. Like, I think if Springer didn't catch that ball, the Jays would have lost that game yesterday.
So it was a deep fly ball to center field, a little bit to the left field side.
Springer just jumps straight out and catches it.
On the warning track.
There's runners on the corners, so the runner on third scored.
Yeah.
I don't care about that. If Springer doesn't catch that laying out like that, that's a potential inside the park home run. And the Jays don't come... the game would be... I think the game would have been tied.
And a guy on third base, at least.
At least.
The game wouldn't have been tied if it... I don't think it would have been inside the park home run. If it kicked weird, maybe, but at least a triple. Yeah. Like, I'd say probably a stand-up triple. If he misses it kicks off the wall.
The out was game-changing. And then he had another home run the inning after, I think, to dead center field, and it got stuck in the fucking grass.
Which was his first home run in a while, because he's been struggling a little bit at the plate.
And he hit another one today, and he went 3 for 4 today.
So it's almost like that catch. As a ball player, you really want to separate your defense from your offense, but as a person, it's hard to not combine the two. So it's almost like that catch gave him a little bit of extra...
He knows he's healthy.
Confident. Yeah, you're healthy.
He knows he's healthy, because it didn't hurt him. And man, the game he played today was unreal.
What did he do today?
3 for 4 with a home run.
What was the other 2 hits?
Double and a single.
Nice. Well, okay, yeah, good. I saw the double actually.
He had a game, and I'm like, man, when Springer's hot, when your top of the order is hot, going in, like, fucking, I'm excited for Tuesday.
And when the top of your order doesn't just get on base, but at any given point in the lineup, the pitcher could be asking for another baseball from the umpire. For those listening at home, that means it's a home run. Home run. Like, anybody in the lineup can pretty much hit it. There's a couple guys that you're not worried about that bat 7, 8.
I forget what I saw what the Jays record at the Rogers Center is right now, but it's absolutely like... It's the best winning percentage in baseball.
I saw it. Isn't it Rogers Center? But there's also they have an interesting day-night split. Like, they're almost 500 at night or something, and they beat the crap out of everybody during the day.
Well, yeah. How many times have I said the dome's open in the friggin' summer? What happens?
But it wasn't dome. It was just at any point of the season, I think.
I know, because the Jays rake when it's hot outside. Like, the ball goes
a lot further. And they're from the Dominican. They're used to playing in the heat.
I've talked
Probably
about
helps.
it all the time.
Being comfortable helps.
For years, I've talked about how much the Jays play better and when it's scorching hot outside with a dome open.
Well, you were really pissed off when the Jays can't open the dome in the playoffs.
It's like, why have home field advantage if you can't play
well,
stadiums?
First of all, I agree, but the answer is Canada. MLB doesn't want Canadian teams winning.
It pisses me off, man. Like, that game against Kansas City where we couldn't have the dome open.
From, like, what was that 2016? 16, 15, something like that.
Even just going to all those games and, like, the dome's closed. It's not the same when the dome's closed. Like, even the away fans that go there, when the dome's closed, like, you don't know that you're downtown Toronto. When the dome's open, you got the CN Tower there. You got all these skyscrapers around the friggin' building. In between innings, you don't have to, like, look at the guys warming up. You can look and see the airplanes flying above you, taking off from the airport, like, just off the island.
Island airport, yeah.
And you see that you can look at the CN Tower, the people friggin' doing the harness thing off the
edge walk.
Yeah, it's sick. There's so many more it makes the atmosphere of the ballpark so much better.
It feels like a ballpark.
Yeah.
More than, I mean, some ballparks really feel like ballparks.
Even though we don't have a skyline that comes with it, we got a lot of cool shit that like you can see with it. Even on the night games when the CN Tower's lit up.
Well, it's always lit up now. But in like multicolors.
I know, but
3 colors.
But for people that don't know that, like, when the Jays are playing the night games here and the dome's open, the CN Tower is like LED lit up and it like changes color and illuminates the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
So you got this like legit pencil sticking up in the air, just changing colors. In between innings, you just look at it and it's like mesmerizing.
Yeah. Now, not to say that it doesn't get really friggin' loud when the dome's closed, but the bell just doesn't carry the same.
No.
And you can feel it. It feels stuffy in there.
I feel like you take away the home field advantage when you have the dome closed.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what MLB wants until they prove otherwise. That's my opinion on that.
Yeah.
I don't expect them to email me specifically, but I'd appreciate it if they would.
So, did you see apparently, like, the Rays are going to go play Montreal for half the year next year?
Is that confirmed?
I don't know if it's 100% confirmed, but there's a billboard in Tampa Bay going up that tickets available for Montreal.
At the Expo Stadium thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, my opinion on that is it's a cop-out. It's basically like, we want to half move to Montreal as opposed to fully move to Montreal. It's like, if you okay, put it this way. If it was Montreal, they wouldn't half move to Tampa.
They already kicked Montreal out to Washington.
Mm-hmm. No, but if it was like Montreal...
They didn't give him this leeway.
No, exactly. That's what I mean.
Imagine they're like, hey, Montreal, you can play half your games in Washington.
They didn't do that because it's... Well, first of all, they're...
Imagine 2 good baseball teams in Canada?
Well, we don't have to... I don't remember it, but it existed in the 90s.
Move to Montreal, and we have the Toronto Blue Jays and the new Montreal Expos.
Yep.
Canada owns literally 2 of the best baseball teams in the league if this ever happens. Think about it. Expos and Blue Jays, they're going to be 90 win teams for the next...
Can I paint a better picture for you? Like a slightly funnier picture too?
Yeah.
Also,
I'm already painting a pretty good one.
Who would purchase the Tampa Bay Rays / Montreal Expos?
Probably Molson.
No, pick a different company. Think of who owns the Jays.
Oh my God, could you imagine?
Okay, so what company owns the naming rights to the Montreal Canadiens arena?
Jesus Christ.
The Bell Center.
Could you imagine if Bell bought
So imagine Bell purchases the new Montreal Expos, aka Tampa Bay Rays, as an FU to Rogers, who owns the Toronto Blue Jays.
Oh, it would be a sword fight.
Oh my! I would be excited. First of all, I would then immediately move to Telus because I'm not paying extra money for this bullshit. But also, but like, imagine like just to the 2 Canada Telecom giants that have an oligopoly over our cell phone and internet and cable TV and satellite and Fibe and own the only 2 baseball teams in Canada and 2 of the best teams in MLB.
That'd be fun.
That'd be funny because they don't. I think they can somehow some combination own the
all I have
leaves.
To say to that is fuck the AL East even more.
Yep. I don't know. There was at one point in time when Rogers was the wealthiest owner in Major League Baseball. Is it? I haven't seen a list recently.
Still is.
Because I know they do the lists and they rank them based on like their franchise value as opposed to actual wealth.
No, Rogers is still.
And I know Nintendo is up there too.
No, they don't own Seattle anymore.
I know they sold them, but at one point it was because Nintendo rakes. If anyone doesn't realize, Nintendo rakes.
Yeah, Rogers is still the.
Slight tangent. I don't think people realize this, but like Pokemon is the biggest. Like they make more than Star Wars and Winnie the Pooh and all those other fucking brands, like killing it. I just saw a random list, but Nintendo created Pokemon as like a franchise.
Every time I drive around now, I still see people friggin' Poe going.
Oh, yeah. I'll throw it on. When I take Jesse.
Whenever I'm at Amigos, I always have it open on my phone. Like, and there's like 8 stops there, and phone's just always exploding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have like 300 Pokeballs, and I have too many items.
You gotta get rid of them.
I gotta get rid of them. Gotta
catch all the Pidgeys.
No, there's some cool shit out right there. There's like Krogunks and
there's that white horse thing.
That's what I was gonna say. I don't
know what it's called, but it looks a cool looking white horse. It's like Gen set. Like, I don't know. Ian would call them fake Pokemon. It's fine. We play I don't know how we turned Rogers versus Bell, Jays versus Expos into Pokemon, but we did.
But man, could you imagine though? Expos comes back and they're like, even if Tampa plays quarter their games there, it's going to be against like Toronto, because they're going to want.
You might as well. You're going to draw the crowd.
I would 100% go
for a week. Well, if you go for a weekend, it's not like if you go to Montreal for a weekend for a Habs Leafs game, as an example, you see one game. If you go to if you go to a thing, you can have a chance to see 2 or 3.
Canadian, Montreal is one of the best places you can go to as a tourist. Mm-hmm. Like, even from Tampa Bay, like, you should go to Montreal.
Montreal's the destination for people in New York.
Oh yeah.
For people in the Boston area. So those teams would attract those teams. I have friends who have been to the what do they call it? The juice box thing, Tropicana Field. I don't know what they call it down in. I can't remember. They have a name. What's the nickname for it?
The juice box. That sounds like a pretty good name.
Yeah, that's what we're calling it. But it's so out of the way. It's like going to a Tampa Bay Rays game is like the 7th or 8th thing to do. I don't know if we mentioned this on the podcast, but I think that you mentioned
there's
this.
There's no reason for anybody to do it, because like, hey, I'd legit rather go have a beer at the bar
or golf.
Yeah. Or
go to the beach, or be old and retired,
or hit the driving range and take a golf lesson,
or go to Disney. That's not.
It's an hour away.
It's not
like
far.
It's like going to Wonderland, kind of.
Except way better.
Exactly.
Yeah. There's so many things to do aside from, like, you have to drive too. It's not like there's a lot of the stadiums in major cities are downtown. Tampa's thing isn't, like, it's apparently across like a causeway. We're extremely lucky. Yeah.
Yeah. Extremely lucky.
Let's just leave it at that. Can we talk for just a second about what happened this week? About so first of all, Jays.
One more thing I want to say about the Jays.
Yeah.
Semyon, new record set by home runs by second basemen all time.
I got that written down. Who else had a record? Bichette has a record for
doubles, I think.
Doubles. Does Vladdy have a record?
Batting average, or if he leads in home run and average, or hits in home runs, he will be the youngest player to ever do it.
And then earlier, I think we mentioned on an episode or two ago that Ray set a record for number of strikeouts in his first however many innings.
Pitch as a starter.
Yeah. Are there any records we're missing? Because there's a bunch of them.
Manoah went over 100 pitches, 100 innings today.
Is that a record though?
No, I don't. It's not a record, but
it's just an impressive stat.
Yeah, if he's been pitching all year, he'd have better numbers than Robbie Ray.
Whoa! Guy's a stud.
And he pitched like a stud today, too. His slider was electric.
So Simeon's is an MLB record. It's not a Jays record.
It's a legit MLB record. He hit the most home runs as a starting second baseman.
And I don't think people realize how many games he's played in every game. He's played in every game this year. He only didn't start one, and he came in at some point in that game. Crazy. I hope the only way we don't re-sign him is if he wants to go home, I think.
He had big praise about the Jays, too. He had a couple good quotes. Earlier in the week, he's just like, man, this team, like, the facilities and stuff here is state-of-the-art, and he's like, everything he said is just like he wants to stay here, and like as long as they get they can figure out a number, I think he'll be back.
7 gazillion.
I'd give him 4 years at like 25 mil.
And the way he's helped Bichette, I think, up the middle too. It's just a matter: do you want to be a shortstop or do you want to go home?
Dude, how good have Vladdy and Bichette has gotten defensively through the season?
Yeah, and a lot of that's coaching, but I think a lot of that's some of the veteran players. Players. Can we talk about what happened this week just for a second? Okay, first of all, I was going to mention 30,000 fans now that this homestand for the Jays. So they're bumping it up. They're opening up the 500 level, which is cool. So when you go...
$50 a ticket, freaking get one, people. Let's get loud this Thursday.
So or Tuesday or Wednesday or Friday.
I'm gonna be there Thursday
or Saturday or Sunday. Any of the games, but Mark's there. Mark's there on Thursday. Can we talk about the lineup card? I think we would not be doing ourselves a favor if we didn't mention the fiasco that happened with the picking up the lineup card thing. What do you think about it? I'll give you my opinion, but
I think it's insanely petty on both sides.
Same. Why? Why do you find it petty? Like how?
I feel like Tampa already knows what's on the lineup card because they know what Toronto's going to pitch to them.
So I think, does everybody know what happened? Just walk us through sort of what happened and how this incident transpired.
So who was catching? Kirk was catching.
Kirk was catching.
He's got a card. You know how NFL quarterbacks have like a thing they flip up, it tells you plays and stuff like that, and like what you should do to defense. Well, catchers now
probably quotes from your favorite author.
Have these cards
smiley faces
tell you like how to set up for guys coming up to an at bat and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So Kirk comes, makes a defensive play. Kiermaier sliding in. This card pops out of his
of Kurt's wristband.
Guard thing.
Yep. Quarterback
Kiermaier
strap.
picks it up, takes it, walks off. Yada, yada, yada. Jays are upset. Shouldn't have fallen out of his thing anyway. I don't know why you need it because you should already know
how teams are pitching to you.
What pitches, you should just already know how to pitch to the guys you're going to face.
Yep.
At the same time, it's petty. Kiermaier takes it because he knows exactly what it is, but whatever. Baseball is baseball. Next game, Ryan Berwicki comes in, wouldn't say he throws at Kiermaier, but he hits him with a pitch that
was clearly destined for him, according to the Major League Baseballs.
Yeah. And yeah, if the Jays went apart it that way, then I think it's insanely petty the way Jays went about it too, because if I was going to hit a guy who was taking my notes, I would have gone straight up and in. I wouldn't have made him been like, oh, it didn't hurt that much. Yeah,
he threw like a 93 fastball into his back as opposed to like a, I don't know.
Just a dart.
Yeah. But
like, I don't know. I just think it was petty on both sides. Like, one thing happened because of one thing and...
Yeah. So, I mean, I sort of look at it like the guy slides. Kirk drops the thing but doesn't realize he dropped it. It's a third out at the home plate. So Kirk walks away. Which I guess is what he would suppose. I mean, he just walks away. He doesn't realize he dropped it. But Kiermaier just like literally looks down and sees this piece of paper sitting on the ground. So he just, takes it and walks away. Which in my mind, I'm like, okay, like it's a thing on the ground. Like maybe he thought it was his. Maybe he didn't know. I don't know. He says he didn't know what it was. Is there a part of me that believes him? I guess, because it's plausible. Is it possible? That's a different story.
No, exactly. You believe and don't believe at the same time.
Yeah,
because
I don't...
He's not on trial and he hasn't been...
No.
Yeah.
And at the same time, the sun will come up tomorrow with or without. But like he looks down and like, imagine you just left it there. Like, here's my perspective. If Kirk was standing there and was trying to pick it up and Kiermaier said, no, you can't have it, that's one thing. That didn't happen. Kirk literally walked away.
Kirk left it there is different. That's what I mean. It's petty on both sides.
Yeah, like imagine you ran out to the outfield and found a piece of paper on the ground.
Like it's Kirk's fault he left it there.
It's Kirk's fault he left it. Is it Kirk's fault it fell out of his like arm sleeve thing? Maybe too. It might be. Maybe it maybe just happened. But like I think that's a good way to put it. That it's sort of petty from the Jays' perspective because it's like you're getting upset over something that just happened, and apparently that card was for a pitcher that just pitched that inning. It was specific for that relief pitcher that pitched that inning, and it had no bearing on another pitcher because the notes were for that pitcher. And I understand how they have it in their arm. Like you said, they should know, but at the same time, if they have an entire bullpen out there, like you got to have a set of notes per guy, a cheat sheet per guy in the bullpen or whatever. I don't know, just as a reminder. But one thing I heard on the radio is maybe on that piece of paper, you have the signs if somebody's on second base. Maybe those are universal signs, like how you touch your knee and your head.
Signs. You have game signs.
Yeah, your general game signs are on there. Maybe
you're like, hey, we're setting up a pickoff. Like the numbers come out and you tap your knee twice and shit like that.
And that's the same. That could be the same for every pitcher. So if Kiermaier picks that up, when we had Noah on, if you've been listening to this podcast way back, Noah says that the one every day, Noah Mark's brother, who plays college ball in the States, in America, he said that they get grilled every day on signs.
If they don't know the signs, they
get bag skate.
Yeah, literally.
Like the Vancouver Canucks did.
No, Noah said, like, it's like, if you don't know the
Bag
signs,
skates.
like, you're not playing.
It's a language.
Yeah.
He has to know it like a language. The same way in chemistry you learned your, what's that called?
Periodic table.
Yeah, but how you use a periodic table, your nomenclature. It's a language. You have to understand it. So I understand if the Jays are upset about it or unhappy, but there's a way to go about it. I don't know why they're so angry that he walked away with a piece of paper that was left on the diamond. Would I have done that? I don't know if maybe.
Remember growing up, finders, keepers, losers, sweepers?
Kinda.
That's how I feel about this circumstance.
And the fact that, like, it didn't land 10 feet away.
It was right there.
Listen, okay, here are some scenarios that I think would be absolutely gutless. If a team went back to the clubhouse during a rain delay and somebody actively went into their dugout and stole a piece of paper actively from their dugout.
Yeah.
Obviously, that you can't do that.
The guy's just like, hey, there's a piece of paper.
In literally a neutral spot on the field. The home plate is as neutral as it gets, and it literally landed in his lap. If a guy went over and started taking pictures of the Jays dugout,
I would have picked it up. Would you have picked it up?
Probably. I mean, if it's sitting there, it's just like, I don't want to be a dick and leave litter.
And
I don't,
honestly, as competitive as those guys are, if I see something that says like Danny Jansen and thing, you know what?
No, if Danny Jansen was there and said, "Hey, man, give that over," I would have handed over. Kirk. Yep. If he
says hand it over, yes,
100%.
I'm gonna take it if it's sitting there after the fact.
Sure.
It doesn't become my problem.
So and then in the Jays media, the call-in shows and stuff like that, it's all like, the Tampa Bay Rays should be fined. It's like, okay, shut up. You're dumb.
Oh my goodness.
Shut up.
If
You're
they
stupid.
think they should be fined, there's like, fuck, they should know what the Chicago Blackhawks are doing.
They can't afford a fine. They got to move to Montreal.
Fuck. They should read the Chicago Blackhawks story.
Hey! Are we done with baseball? That's what we think about that. Oh, the Barucki suspension. They reduced it to 2 games?
He's off his suspension already.
Yeah, it's already done. Like, It's basically like, so you appeal it, you pitch the game that you appeal it, because then you get 2 days rest anyway.
Yeah.
There you go. Hilarious.
Yeah, Jays bullpen are pretty rested for going against the Yankees right now.
Cool. I love it.
Yeah, I'm ready to jump off baseball. Actually, like, shout out to the St. Louis Cards. They're, I think, 15-game winning streak right now.
That's pretty good.
They hold the NL wildcard, second NL wildcard spot.
They 2 weeks ago, they were not really in the picture then.
Yeah, and the Padres completely...
Nashville Predators,
Yeah, mid-season.
Mid-season.
But the Cards did what the Preds did at the end of the year.
Yeah. That's kind of cool. That's kind of neat.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how much longer you want to go here, Mark, but we can talk about some hockey if you want.
Yeah, sure.
If you want to do some hockey stuff. There's a few hockey things. There's some NHL things to get to. Later this evening, we're going to see the Seattle Kraken on the ice for the very first time. So that'll be interesting. That'll be exciting, I guess, if you're into that thing. But the Toronto Maple Leafs Saturday night Leafs Habs. So we were flipping between the exhibition game between the Leafs and Canadiens and the Jays game.
Yeah.
One clearly more important than the other. The Jays game being far more important, of course. But just seeing, like, guys on the ice. Great
Leafs
seeing.
started a pretty good lineup yesterday.
Or
Saturday.
They also didn't start many of their regular players. Tavares is back. Hey, good standing ovation or something from him. So that's good. I
just like that he was out there skating around. He scored a goal, started it off.
And who was on his line? That line looked pretty good.
Jose.
And Nylander? Robertson? Doesn't matter. One of those two. I think it was Nylander for the most part. Bunting was with someone else. The line.
They were all good.
They're all good.
Gabriel looked really good too, man. He was throwing his body around like a friggin' maniac. I liked he was just pounding Montreal Canadian players.
It just made you feel good inside.
Yeah.
It's like,
I'm happy that guy just got hit hard.
Must be October soon. Yeah. Do you think Gabriel makes the team just as like a big tough guy?
He'll be in the press box. You need guys like that against Boston.
I think the same.
You need guys like that against the Islanders.
Yeah. Just so it's almost like, hey, listen, other team. If you keep your big guy out of the lineup, we'll keep our big guy out of the lineup. You know what I mean? It's almost like a game of chicken a little bit. Oh, your big guy's in the lineup? Oh, we'll put our big guy in the lineup. That's cool.
Yeah.
The line, I didn't really pay attention.
He looked like he could play. Watching him play yesterday.
He looked a little slow, but he didn't look. Well, he scored a goal.
He has hands. He's good around the net. He's got hands.
That's good.
And he didn't look like a farce inside our own blue line.
No, the Leaf system. I don't think the Leafs would take a guy just for that reason. You need to be able to play. Yeah. You need to earn a spot.
He was good in our own blue line. Like, yeah, his skating was skeptical, but like, man, if you had an offensive zone and you just needed to throw a guy in front, he'd shovel something in, and he'd be good defending the front of the net in your own D zone. Or you let the goalie pull a Marc-Andre Fleury and just hit him, and then he puts it in the wide open net. I'll take that. Good for that guy. And he had to fight to it, a little bit of a Tilly. He had to exchange some phone numbers. He threw a nice hit though. Before that though. Yep, of course. One guy that I sort of wanted to watch was Josh Ho-Sang. He had a good game. I thought he had a good game. I think that's a guy that we've been raving about him for a while since we signed him. Everyone's been cheering for. Everyone is cheering for him. Not signed. It's a professional tryout, so he's unsigned right now. But any Toronto guy literally said in his media availability, "Hey, I'll go to the East Coast if they want. I'll sharpen skates if they want. Whatever this organization wants." So he sounds like he's got a good. I don't know what he was like prior. I haven't followed him very closely when he was at the Islanders organization. He was over in Sweden for a year. So admittedly, I haven't followed it very closely, but hey, this sounds like a guy who, I mean, the skill looks like it's there. It would have been nice to see him score on the breakaway, but he got the breakaway, got a shot off, looked pretty good beside Tavares, was on the power play, the 10-second long power play that they scored on. So what I liked about him, watching him play, he created his own ice when he had the puck on his stick. And I like that. That's a guy that Tavares could, yeah, because when he got a pass, our better players do that. Keep skating forward. He could go create his own ice. Yeah, I like seeing that. Even in the neutral zone, he could turn back and turn forward, and he could just make his own ice. Make a play. Create space for yourself is how you'll usually hear it. The verbiage used in the typical hockey circle media. Yeah, but he wasn't doing it to go one-on-one against everybody. He was doing it to like create time to find a pass to make a good play. Yeah, and I think and he's a damn good skater. Yeah. I think everybody's cheering for him. Let's see what happens in the next couple games, but I mean it's high praise to put him. They didn't just dress him. They dressed him and put him with their captain. And Nylander. My dad's buddy Kurt, when they were growing up playing for the Marlboros, when Ho-Sang was playing for the Marlboros, the Jays have a bunch of them now, or the Leafs have a bunch of them now. He said that Ho-Sang, when they were playing in the GTHL, he was the only guy that would outshine McDavid in these like big tournaments and these big games and stuff like that. They played together. When they played head to head against each other. Did they play together? Games? Did they play together? Yeah, they played against each other. Oh, did they? Ho-Sang would be the better player on the ice. Interesting. Now, that's years ago, but it does... That's when they're kids. That's when they were friggin' 15, 16 years old. Yeah, that talent doesn't evaporate. Nope. And he slots in there, so that kind of segues into the battleground for the left wing position. I think that's sort of... And I'm not saying he's anywhere near as good as McDavid. No, but... I'm just saying what he was doing as a 16-year-old, 15-year-old. Of course. And he will certainly compete with guys like Bunting and Ritchie and I guess McCabe on the left side over there and Kasha for the left wing jobs. There's 5 of them. There's 4 left wing jobs. I'm sure there's another guy in there too, but those are the top ones. Bunting looked pretty good. Scarborough guy. The Russian guy with the really Semyon Dragachensev. He looked really good yesterday. If you see SDA on the internet, that's Semyon Dragachensev. I believe he was with Peterborough.
Didn't he play with
Robertson? They never played together, but they didn't play together
on a line?
On a line.
Yeah.
They played together in Peterborough.
Leafs drafted him a few years ago. That's a name that you've heard a bit. Daragachensev, I don't think is making the Leafs this year, but like
he's a Dubas draft and develop the same way the Wings have done a few guys.
That'd be kind of cool.
He looks like he's gonna be like
should be Marley, I think. Is he overage now?
I think he might be overage for the
OHL.
He should be a Marley. He was playing with the Marlies at the end of last year. When the CHL.
Right. Marlies were dog poo last year, though. In general, it's almost like they need to restock the cupboards a little bit.
So
it's almost like
these guys coming up.
Yeah, but as soon as Sheldon Keefe left, it's almost like the Marlies kind of went into a dumpster fire. But if they're getting some of these younger players coming in that have the talent, like, not that we're worried about the Marlies too much, but it's interesting to see the system developing and sort of turning over.
Yeah.
Underneath the Leafs. Of course, Reilly answered questions. RE his contract. I don't want to, and we're not going to talk about like the Reilly and contract stuff.
On him, like, instantly.
I liked that that it was right off the bat. Get the 2 questions out of the way. Now shut up and don't ask about it for the rest of the year.
Yes, as if they were that respectful, then yes. If they do that, but it won't happen.
I feel like most of the media will respect it. I feel like there will be a couple ding-dongs that keep asking. And I think we know who those ding-dongs are. Mark gestures that I am probably correct. Because that's the Toronto media. The Toronto media.
I tip my hat, but I have my headphones over.
Yes. And there are a couple of rumors. I get the last thing I'll talk about, Jays, I said the Jays too, Leafs-wise, is that I feel like just the more I look at the lineup, and honestly, it's been very refreshing this summer not talking a lot of Leafs. We've done a podcast every week and have not touched on Leaf stuff at all, once in a while.
We had to talk about how Charlie Montoyo shouldn't be fired.
That's correct, etc. There's been other stuff to talk about, but the more I look at the lineup, and the more I'm like, man, there are guys for Pierre Engvall to be on the team, he has to be more valuable than 2 guys based on his salary. And I don't hate Pierre Engvall, but I feel like there's just other opportunities in the NHL for him.
There's a lot of good values on them. But for me, the most important thing with the Leafs is Jake Muzzin. Jake Muzzin has to be there for the playoffs.
One thing that Ian said is the Leafs with 4 Jake Muzzins or 3 Jake Muzzins would be perfect. And I could not agree more. More Jake Muzzins.
That's for me. If Jake Muzzin's healthy all year, the Leafs will make the playoffs.
So this is one thing we sort of disagree on, but in principle we agree on, that we were talking about yesterday. That I think the Leafs needed a guy like Bogosian because they needed more toughness on defense.
Yeah, and I said they could find a guy like Bogosian. There's no need to sign a guy like Bogosian because let's be honest, it's not that good.
Serviceable, but tough.
There's no need to throw that money to a guy for 82 games when you can get a guy that for the last 25 to get you
in the playoffs. Yeah. So I would love to see them get that guy. Mark says he would too, but they don't need that right now.
No.
You don't need it out of camp.
I'd like to see what Liljegren, Sandin does, because if you have a guy like him, you're taking time away from those guys. I'd like to see what Liljegren, Sandin does.
I agree with that.
I'd like to see how much Justin Holl developed over the offseason.
Agreed. All of those things.
Yeah.
And Dermott. I mean, we kind of know what Dermott is, I think, but give him an opportunity.
He's almost an outlier now.
Kind of. But what we both agree on is this defense needs to be a lot tougher in the playoffs.
We need another tough guy.
And it's not, I don't even think it's an option. Like this you look at the defense now.
That's what I mean. I think the Leafs want to see what they got with those 4 guys.
Yeah.
I think they more want to see what they got with Liljegren,
and Sandin
and Dermott. I think the Leafs think Hall is legit.
That's why they kept him in the Seattle draft. They didn't expose him.
But those 3, I think they're fighting for 2 spots, and that 3rd spot is going to be
out the door.
They're going to be traded for another Bogosian.
They're still young, but you get to a point where it's sort of shit or get off the pot for these guys
because you need to win and you need to design your team to win for the playoffs, and you're not going to win with a fucking bunch of fairy defensemen.
Guys that are wickedly talented with the puck. Dermott, maybe not so much, but like Sandin and Liljegren,
but they're not gonna
punch someone in the face for no reason
or lay somebody out.
Yeah, they're not 6'4" every time they step on the ice.
They're guys I don't trust to play in the playoffs for me yet.
So that's where we agree. The Leafs need to be a harder, like a bigger team on defense. But I totally agree that this is sort of the season, maybe not this season, but very soon, you got to just make a decision on Liljegren and Sandin, because I feel like a couple years ago, their value was way higher than it is now.
Early in the year, you want as much skill in your lineup as possible because power plays are figuring itself out. You can make guys look good because teams are still figuring it out. And I think the Leafs could score on an early trade, just having a couple of these guys having hot starts, maybe.
Sure. And I think to some degree, you have to decide how much you're going to pay Morgan Reilly based on how well Sandin can step into the power play 1 role.
If he can.
If he can't, you need to give Morgan Reilly the money. And if he can, then you have to take Reilly. You have to give Reilly a second look because
you have a guy there.
Because you have that in your system.
So this is a big year for Sandin as well.
Mm-hmm.
As it is for Reilly because it's a contract year.
It's a contract year. Exactly.
So this is almost a recipe for fucking...
Like if Sandin comes in...
Hey, this is a recipe for a damn good bowl of fucking stew.
Little bit of stew. A little bit of pepper.
Hey man, guys fighting for contracts, it's always good. Said guys on contract years always have big years.
I hope so.
Marcus Semion's one of the primest examples right now.
With the Jays. Yep. How much longer do you want to go here, Mark? I don't want to keep too long because you got work tomorrow. But we can touch on the Buffalo thing very quick if you want.
Oh, the Jack Eichel bullshit?
Yeah, so Jack Eichel stripped of his captaincy from the Buffalo Sabres because of all the nonsense. Everybody knows about the nonsense. But I mean, players around the league, if you need a job, you need a job. But players around the league are taking notice at like how the Buffalo Sabres are treating this situation. Undoubtedly. It's going to be harder and harder to sign guys in Buffalo because of how you treat.
Did they sign anybody in the offseason?
Yeah, they had to because they need to ice a team, but they didn't sign anybody significant, I don't think.
Yeah, if we can't think about it, then it doesn't matter.
No. It's also Buffalo. Respectfully to Buffalo. Well, to the fans. But the organization, I mean, they're doing it themselves.
They should move to Montreal like the Expo for the Expo.
The Rays? Oh, wow. Everybody's moving to Montreal.
They should move to Hamilton.
Well, they're doing it for one game. That outdoor, that stadium series. I was listening to Steve Johnston's got a new podcast that's like #1 in Canada and stuff like that. And the one thing,
good for him. I love him.
And keeps the first episode was nice and short, unlike this one. If you're still with us, you're doing a great job so far.
How long are we on?
I don't know, an hour plus. Oh, at like an hour 10, hour 15. So with the Jack Eichel situation, he currently has a no trade. Chris Johnson mentioned that. Currently no trade, but July 1st, 2022, so the next July 1st, i.e. the next
at the end of the next year
UFA thing, he gains some sort of no movement or no trade piece in his contract. So it's not like the Buffalo Sabres are sitting there without a little bit of a clock on their back. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you want to trade, if you're going to move them.
They have to move them.
Well, they'd have to basically now. If you take the guy's C off his chest, you basically have to move the guy.
See, I knew that already.
You knew which part?
The whole no movement and all
the whole no move. Well, now the listeners know too. Now we all know. Now we're all equally as informed. So, and then Kyprios is reporting that Eichel is basically willing to go anywhere. Initially, he wanted to go to there's apparently a few teams that he preferred to go to, but if it comes to a point where it's like trade me anywhere, you're getting, I don't want to say you're getting desperate, but your priority is to no longer be in that situation.
No, he doesn't want to play for Buffalo.
Yep.
Honestly, there's still, I don't care, like, I'm going to take the money out of the question, but when your employer is denying you of doing a surgery that you feel is best for you, that determines whether you're going to be with the company or not, I would rather fuck the employer and do what's better for my health.
Yeah,
and that's where it is with Eichel, I think, because it's all up to what his surgery can do, because Buffalo doesn't want to do the surgery Eichel wants to do.
Yeah, it's not like a contract negotiation where you can meet in the middle. They're two very different procedures. Mark and I are, neither one of us are medical experts. So I don't know the difference between them. I've read about them, but you can go read about them too. One's like a fusion versus I don't know, getting like a something else going on. I don't know. But I know that they're two different and there's no middle ground.
Yeah.
There's no, a contract. It's like, I want 10 million, I want 15 million. Let's meet in the middle. There's no middle with with a medical procedure. So we'll see what happens. The unfortunate part is that the Sabres fans, Jack Eichel is already a consolation prize as it is to Connor McDavid. Connor McDavid was the prize. They thought they were getting Connor McDavid. He went to Edmonton. They got Jack Eichel. And now they're not even going to have Jack Eichel. So I feel so bad for Sabres fans.
I feel bad for the fans, but the organization is a shit show.
It's a fucking mess. And I don't know how, there's so many other things going on right now around the league, and training camps are opening up. I'm sure, there's a couple of trades happen. There were minor ones, but there's going to be so many other things that I don't really want to focus on the Jack Eichel saga every week, because it's just time that we could spend talking about something else.
I don't want to talk about it until he's moved. Yeah. I feel Ian's sort of in the same boat. He's like, I'm bored with this. Literally bored of it. Can't wait till he's a Red Wing for nothing.
I'd love to. I think him I can picture him in a Red Wing jersey. Genuinely. I don't know what the price tag is ultimately going to be. But one thing I did hear was that teams are asking for certain compensation stipulations. So it's like if I don't know how you'd work this into a trade, but based on they're almost like insurance on a trade, where if he isn't able to play this year, so let's pick something. Let's say 4 first-round picks is what they want for him. I'll just give you an example. So say they trade him to Detroit. This is hypothetical. Completely hypothetical. Eichel goes to Detroit for 4 first-round picks. But if he is unable to play this year, then Detroit's like, okay, it's only for 3 first-round picks.
Or it's 2 and 2 seconds.
Or, something less. And if he, maybe in the next couple seasons, if he only scores 20 goals, because if he doesn't get back to that 40-goal pace, if he's a significant worse player after the procedure, because the Sabres aren't letting him to do what he wants.
The compensation that I gave you doesn't meet up to the expectation.
Yeah, so that maybe that first rounder stays, but if the next season's a 20-goal season, then that pick for that year it goes from a first to a second, and then maybe his next year he scores 25 goals, and he doesn't meet that 30-goal threshold. I'm making that up.
But if he meets up to the expectation, then they get those compensations.
Then it's full compensation.
Yeah.
So there was a word, I can't remember what the word is, but it's there's teams that want sort of stipulations in the trade that bank as insurance, because it's okay, we're willing. It's almost like they're saying we're unwilling to give you what you want for this player, because A, you're not letting us look at the medical records,
he doesn't play,
and B, we don't know if he's going to be the same player. So if you're not giving us the medical records, we can't. I can't remember who mentioned this, but in trade talks, the Sabres are pretending he's absolutely healthy. They're acting like he's healthy, but in the real world, they're basically saying he's not.
Yeah,
so they're being two-faced.
A guy from you that's not going to play for me.
I'm not going to give, he could be a first-line center. He could be a franchise player. Pardon you. Could be a first-line player. But until he proves he is again after he's healthy, he's not.
No, he isn't. So, sorry to kind of step into this, but do you have him in your top 25 for your center list?
No.
Neither do I. I didn't even think about him.
I did, because you have to, but I didn't put him. Didn't put him there. Honorable mention. Because he's good, but honorable mention doesn't mean 26th. or 27th. It means like take them late and throw them. If you have you know what? If you're talking from a fantasy hockey perspective, how many IR spots do you have in your league? If you have a couple, sure. Stash them on an IR spot, but don't waste a top 10 pick. Top 10, a 10th, maybe a 10th round pick. That's what I mean. Like a top 10 on your team. Taking them.
Never.
11th round, 12th round? You're probably going to drop those guys anyway, realistically.
Exactly.
Use an 11th round pick and just go, put Jack Eichel on your bench, but make sure you have a couple other centers, and maybe he gets traded to Vegas or New York or LA, all teams that we've talked about at some point during the season, and away you go, and he's okay. But I guess from this podcast perspective, yeah, I don't think the three of us are really going to mention the Jack Eichel situation. We might mention it in passing, but I don't want to talk about it too much, because until there's a story, it's nothing. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for both parties if you look at it on a working standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel worse for the fans because they don't get to watch a superstar play.
Well, yeah, and the fans across the entire league, because and this is something we say on a regular basis.
As much as we shit on Buffalo, we love the friggin' we love Buffalo fans because y'all are passionate as fuck.
Yeah.
And we only shit on the team because we're from Toronto and it's easy to do at this point, but man, we respect you guys. You're
here. I guess the last thing, yeah. I watched there's an episode of Leafs Blueprint that came out. It was pretty cool.
Is that the Amazon thing?
No. This is the YouTube thing. I haven't watched the Amazon one, but I watched it. It's just on YouTube. They called it Looking Forward. The episode is titled Looking Forward. It came out just a couple of days ago. And
are they reading a book and then just turning the pages over?
My God. My mom hates when people say looking forward. During the Canadian election, everyone's saying looking forward. My mom fucking hates it.
I hate it too.
People at her work, apparently her manager's at work. She worked for the hospital for years. She's retired now. But they said looking forward.
I'm not going to.
Anything looking forward. So first of all, Leafs, you suck at naming the episode. Never name anything looking forward. Or moving forward,
hey man, I look forward to the playoffs.
You can say you can use other language to, but just say you're moving forward is rhetorical. Okay, so
what? Tomorrow's Monday.
Mm-hmm.
We're moving forward.
Well, I suppose. So, if you're
not wrong,
if you're not moving forward, then it's okay. So you're existing, cool. But it did give you a sort of behind the scenes on the sort of the McCann Hollander trade. And basically, there's a clip of Shanahan basically saying we're trading Hollander in a pick for keeping Kerfoot. Which is exactly what we were talking about. But it's cool that it was just cool to see the people in the room. They basically took a basketball card at the OVO, the Raptors Trading Center, and turned it into a big event conference space. But it's just cool to see the number of people that are involved in decisions like that regarding signing guys and trading and drafting. And it's not just, I think a lot of people forget that it's not just Kyle Dubas making these decisions on his own.
He's got a team.
And so does every NHL GM or any GM in any sport.
Hey, if everybody has to watch Moneyball if they want to get into a good movie that gives you the ins, the basic ins of how general managers run teams. And
that was and Moneyball, that's a cheap organization too. Imagine some of the bigger ones, the non-cheap organizations.
But Moneyball as a movie, if you haven't watched it, gives you a good interpretation of how teams are run.
Yeah, it's an excellent cross section.
Yes.
Of a pro sports team.
And it's a very good movie.
Fantastic movie. Some great cameos in there too.
Well, Brad Pitt and friggin' who's the other guy from The Hangover?
Yes. I was gonna say Star-Lord's in there. He bats left.
Oh, Chris Pratt's in there too.
Yeah. But one thing that I took, first of all, horrible event furniture. They just rented stuff, and I've set up those event chairs before, and the chairs are sitting on in that YouTube in that clip. I'm I know those chairs; those are shitty chairs. You guys could have done better. But I appreciate you guys going a little bit cheap on the event on the event setup because I'd rather you spend that money on the ice, to be honest with you. But it kind of blows your mind when teams not the Leafs, but other teams, NHL teams, but any other sport, make a bad decision, like literally, like you look at a contract, you know those contracts that you see signed, you're like, how did they sign this guy for this? And you're like, there's a team that either okayed this, which is worse, or maybe actually that's maybe not the worst option, or the GM / owner / somebody isn't listening to his team, that's preventing him from doing something stupid. I'm not going to start talking about the Vancouver Canucks, but there's a few teams that made dumb decisions regarding signings. And I've already made it known that players are good based on the piece of the pie that they take up, because that's how the NHL is structured now. Yeah. Like that's why Tampa won a cup, is because guys like their third line players, we've talked about this, but their third line guys took up a small slice of the pie.
Well, Corey Perry just went there at league minimum.
Small slice of the pie. If Corey Perry went there for $5 million a year, that he wouldn't have the same effect, because everything is in context of the salary cap now. Yeah. Unfortunately, which is kind of why we like fantasy hockey, because all that salary cap stuff just goes out the window. We don't have to talk about it. Don't have to think about it.
Yeah, I get to have a lot of good players on my good team.
Mark, are we just about done? And do you want to touch on anything else?
I don't know. If you're not vaccinated, go get your fucking shot.
Well, go get a vaccine.
That's all I kind of have to say.
I feel at this point in time, I feel like a lot of people that are going to get vaccinated are vaccinated. I know some people might just need a kick of the pants. There's some people out there that I feel like starting to play men's league hockey can. In order to get into the rink, you have to now prove that you're double vaccinated. You have to physically show it at the door that you're double vaccinated. You got to show the PDF file from the health department and your ID, and the names have to match up, has to say second dose, and then you have to be clear of all symptoms.
You fucking got a guy at Amigos checking.
Okay, so hang on. So the owner of Amigos, aka the bar that Mark frequents.
Everybody frequents. We all frequent.
A lot of people frequent. If you're listening from another part of Canada, other states, you're like, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about, but I've heard you talk about Amigos before. This restaurant.
Bar, but
any place in Ontario now where you're going to sit down to eat and take off your mask it requires a proof of double vaccination.
Yeah.
Can't wait to have to get that third dose, because that's coming eventually too.
I don't care about getting a third dose. I just like that we're friggin' weeding out the fucking weak.
Well, that's basically what it is, kind of too, right? Like
they're not allowed to be where I am.
No. Well, I mean that has been the history of the pandemics. I mean that's dark, but it's
not dark. It's the truth.
It's
fuck them.
Kind
I don't
of
want them to be where I am.
Yeah. But it's good to know that that if you have gotten double vaccinated, there are measures in place that are going to protect you, and that these organizations, you can go places where you do feel safe.
About it.
Yeah, because I mean, you walk down the street, you have no idea. I know when I go
to Amigos now, everybody in there is double vaxxed,
or any restaurant.
Yeah,
any place in Ontario, Canada. I don't know what the other provinces are doing. I don't know. I have no idea. I haven't really kept up.
No, but I know in Ontario we're doing a pretty good job.
I hope so. I think so.
Kids back to school, but that could be a talk for another story. We're not going to get political about it. But.
Yeah. We've sort of stayed away from the opinions on. I don't really have an opinion on that, because it's like the kids aren't usually the problem. It's the parents. But at the same time, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. You know what I mean? It's like it's the parents that are dumb, and having taught stuff with the city of Toronto for a while, for upwards of 15 years, the kids are amazing for the most part. Almost always the kids are amazing. It's the parents that are usually the problem. And if the kid's a problem, there's a good chance that the parents are also not helping the situation. Let's be very gentle in saying it that way.
Polite.
I'm so polite. Mark would just say, well, Ian would say he hates your kids. Doesn't care about the kids. That's what Ian would say. Don't give a fuck about your kids.
Little shots fired at Ian.
Well, we got to include him somehow. But he would say that. Anyone who's listened to the podcast will know that. Yeah. But I'm saying that, I mean, the schools, listen, I mean, I don't have an opinion on it. I don't have a kid in school. I don't have a kid. I don't have to worry about that stuff. But at the same time, I feel for people that are sort of like, it just sucks to be like, I know people think teachers are spoiled, but like, imagine having to have 30 kids and babysit 30 kids all day.
No.
Literally, that's what their job is.
I don't even want to think about it.
And now it's like, now make sure they have their masks on and make sure that they're, not bullying, and make sure that, you don't swear at any of them, because you might want to sometimes, because they're, sometimes pieces of crap. They're not angels for 6 hours a day. I have some teacher friends, and I don't hear too many stories, but I have played hockey with some teachers. I'll tell you this. At the rink, teachers swear more than any other profession that I've played hockey with.
Hey, I chill with a principal at Amigos almost every day of the week after work.
Does he have a potty mouth? Does he swear a lot? Maybe not at the bar. But I'll tell you, like, genuinely, I've played...
Hey, he loves the kids he works with.
Hey, I'm not saying they don't... I know a bunch of teachers, they say they love their job, wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. But let's not pretend that... it's like every job, though. You're not...
Oh, yeah.
You don't enjoy 100% of everything you do. There's some shitty parts. There's some parts that are, this is unfortunate. This is, the worst part of it.
Because you want to do it.
Yeah. There you go. Should we wrap up here? Should we get out of here?
It's getting close to Christmas. I'm like, yeah, let's start practicing wrapping presents.
That's exactly what I mean. Hey, cool that there's hockey back on. Gives you something to watch. Baseball season's hopefully this time next week. Mark is well lubricated.
Playoff run of the friggin'... One of the biggest playoff runs in the decade it's going on in the AL East.
Like Mark said, go get your ticket. It's not
even a wild card run. It's the AL East run.
Go buy a ticket to a Jays game if you're in Toronto, and if you're not,
yes, $15.
What cut do you get, Mark, of that 50? Because we're advertising now.
No, legit, the Jays are selling for $500. It's $15.
It's pretty good. If I wasn't busy as shit this week, I might go. But I'm busy as shit this week.
I paid $90. We're 20 rows, 25 rows.
Did you mention this? I feel like I don't know if you mentioned this on the podcast. I don't know if you mentioned this last time. You told Ian and I separate. But I don't know.
think I mentioned last podcast because I think I bought it during the week this week.
It might have been last week.
Oh.
Well said. Well brought up.
Maybe.
Cool.
Just letting the peoples know.
Just letting them know.
Let's go Blue Jays.
So next episode, you're going to have to tell us all about the experience, Mark. I'm sure it'll be great.
Oh, Yankees just fucked up.
Let's just end the podcast on the Yankees fucking up. How about that? All right, guys. We'll end it on that.
It's 2-2.
Everyone enjoy your week. Stay safe. Catch you in the next one. Cheers.
Fuck the Yankees.
Thanks for listening. Follow us on Twitter @DraftInHand.